What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to ShoAndTech. So I was lucky enough to receive a very special and thematic gift from SoundCore. And the reason why I say that is because the earbuds that we're looking at today have been recommended by 10 Grammy award-winning producers. So without wasting any more time, these right here are the SoundCore Liberty 2 Pro White Edition. Now, I've mentioned these in a previous video. They were seen kicking around at CES by content creators who were lucky enough to make the trip down. And it wasn't any surprise that these are generating a lot of hype. So in celebration of this big weekend and the Grammy Awards, you can find very deep discounts on the Liberty 2 Pros currently. So these retail usually for $150 US, but as of right now, you can find them for $119 USD. So for any of you who already have SoundCore products, you might already know that the fantastic Liberty Air 2s run you $99 at full price. So for an extra 20 bucks, you're able to upgrade to the Pros, which pack an amazing sound. So the Liberty 2 Pros are currently SoundCore's most expensive set of earbuds. And the reason is because they look to improve on a lot of what SoundCore has really done well with the Liberty 2s and the Liberty Air 2s. So out of the box, you get Bluetooth 5.0 and the Qualcomm aptX chip, which guarantees that you're gonna get fantastic range and amazing sound. Also inside the box, you get, as usual, 7 different sizes of ear tips and 3 different sizes of wingtips, or fins as some people like to call it. In addition to that, you get a nicely wrapped USB-C cable that you can use for charging. So one quick thing to note is that SoundCore has seemingly made a change to the way that they package their products. So usually when you get those ear tips out of the box, they come on a separate kind of cardboard sheet that mounts all the ear tips onto it. I noticed when I opened my white Liberty 2 Pros that rather than having a removable card that stores all of the ear tips, they're actually mounted into the box itself. Now that causes some problems for me in that I'm somebody who prefers to have it on a card. That way I can throw it in a dresser drawer or store it in a closet. By having it mounted directly into the box, that means that you kind of have to hold on to this big cumbersome box, where most of us would probably just recycle it as soon as we get the product. So I don't know if that's because this is a review or a preview copy of the device. I'm hoping that that is the case and that when you actually purchase these, you get the original setup that we're used to, but we'll see if that's SoundCore's strategy moving forward in 2020. So talking about the design and fit, as a complete package, the Liberty 2 Pros offer a very nice premium design. I find the aesthetic personally to be very pleasing. I really like the rounded edges and the way that they've designed the case overall. Now, while the case is on the larger side, it's still smaller than the cases that you would see with your Skullcandy True Wireless Buds or the Sony 1000s. It has a really nice feel in the hand. It kind of has a soft touch matte-like finish, which feels really good to play with and twirl around, and has a really good weight to it. And one thing that I can really appreciate is that SoundCore doesn't go overboard with the branding. So the only time that you're gonna see the logo is right here on the case, and it's relatively small. And then also on the outside of each of the buds, you have the same SoundCore branding. It's a pretty much very subtle and not so in your face approach. So looking at the actual buds, I'm pretty partial to this design. I find that it looks really nice. I like the way that the wingtips look as they're sitting in your ears as well. And I find that these do kind of stick out past your ear. I'm somebody that has pretty small and pretty flat ears, so that might contribute to the look of these kind of hanging outside of your ear, but I still find that they're not as bad as the Sonys in that sense. And then obviously there's always something to be said about giving you color options. So with this new white color option out, I would expect that these will become even more popular, as I saw lots of comments while researching this that people wished that they offered the same white that they had in the Liberty Air 2s. And as much as I've enjoyed the black version that I bought back in December, I've been noticing that, and I don't know if it's because of the way that I use them, but I noticed that they have this white kind of dry, almost film looking layer that seems to keep appearing on the buds. So it's something that kind of bothers me whenever I'm trying to show these off, trying to show friends or family and tell them about them. I go to open the case and then bam, right away they look dirty. And I'm a pretty hygienic person. I tend to clean my buds off probably every other use. So I'm not really sure what that is or what's contributing to that, but I would imagine that buying these in the white version would avoid that problem altogether. Now, as for the white version, it's a little bit different than what you would expect. So if you look at the case close up, it's not so much white as it is a gray. So if you're used to that Apple look with the pristine, very bright white, that's not so much what you're gonna get with the SoundCore case. So if you look at it close up, it kind of has more of a cookies and cream look to it than it does an overall white. And I do find that to be a nice and subtle change to what we're used to overall. The buds themselves do feature a brighter and more solid white, but on the outside, you'll notice that the white is pretty much matte and then the part that goes in your ears is what shares that same glossy Apple look. Now, due to having both an ear tip and a wingtip, these do have a pretty snug fit. One thing that I can say is if you're buying these, you should take the 4 or 5 minutes when you initially open them to go ahead and try out all the different sizes. So these are designed to fit very snugly in your ears. I've been using them as my primary listening device when I go to the gym in the morning, and it's allowed me to really be immersed in not only the music, but my workout as well. So with other earbuds, you're kind of stopping after every couple of reps in between exercises in order to readjust and fix the fit. But if you take a second to try out all the tips that are in the box, you'll notice that you won't be doing that at all. And so one pro tip, if you will, is that I've noticed that my left ear canal is smaller than my right. So I've actually had to mismatch the ear tips that I'm using in order to get the perfect fit. So I think I've got on the left ear, it was a small, medium, and then on the right ear, it was a medium to large. So just keep that in mind when you're testing out your own fit, and know that there's a possibility that both of your ears don't match up. Now, unfortunately, as snug as these are, I think that does contribute to the ear fatigue that I've been experiencing when I use them. So I find if I use them any more than about 40 minutes at a time, that's when my ear starts to get a little bit achy and sore, and I've got to take them out, give it a little rest before putting it back in. So these aren't the headset that I would use when I'm going to, let's say, watch a very long movie, or if I'm commuting for obviously more than 40 minutes. But for me, a quick gym workout or a quick little run, these are perfect for. But in talking to other people that have them, they've all had different experiences, so it's pretty subjective. And so another thing with the design is that they feature a nice physical button on the top of the earbud, and I think that the placement for that is perfect. It's very intuitive. When you go to reach up in order to switch or manipulate your media, your finger seems to always find that button because it is slightly raised. So it's very easy to know where it is. Even if you were to miss it, you can just quickly slide your finger back and you're gonna find it every time. The button's very responsive. It works 100% of the time. I've never had any issues with it. And I love that it's placed on top of the earbud because that means when I go to pause my music, I'm not pushing the earbud deeper into my ear canal. I'm using the platform of my thumb in order to press, and then I can continue and away you go. So probably my biggest issue with the overall design is the design of the case. And like I said, it looks nice, it feels nice, and it's fun to slide up and down. But for whatever reason, I always find it difficult to actually take the earbuds out. So what I would suggest when you're going to take these out of the case, and I don't have very thick fingers, mine are actually very slim and long, so it should be easy. But what I suggest is reaching for the wingtips in order to pull these out. I tried initially just to pluck it from the middle, and that didn't really work so well. So this strategy of taking it from the wingtip, putting that one in my ear, and then grabbing the other one from the opposite side seems to be what works best. And the final thing to note about the design of these is that they are IPX4 water and sweat resistant, so you can wear them in a light rain, you can wear them to the gym and sweat in them, but these are not the type of earbuds that you'd want to take into the shower, for example, or any kind of environment where they might be submerged in water. Now, as for the battery life, these feature a total of 32 hours of battery. You're gonna get 8 hours of battery life from each of the buds individually, and then they're able to go back into the charging case for an additional 3 full charges. These are wireless Qi charging compatible, so if you've got a charger pad laying around, it's very easy just to toss this on the charger whenever you got a second, and then to pick it up before you go. So with respect to the controls, as we said, the Liberty 2 Pros are controlled by a physical button on top of the earbud. And you're able to go into the excellent SoundCore app in order to customize what each of those ear presses do. Your options are a double press on the right or the left earbud, and then you also have a press and hold for 1 second on the right or the left earbud. So you're able to do the obvious things like skip the track forward, skip it back, volume up, volume down, play, pause, etc. But one important thing to note is that because these are fully capable of a mono mode, meaning you can have just the right earbud in or just the left earbud in, when you decide to use these in mono, the settings automatically revert back to the default, so you're not yet able to actually customize what the presses do while you have just one earbud in. Now, always the most important part of any earbud review is the sound. So on the box, SoundCore makes mention of the fact that the Liberty 2 Pros make use of a technology called Astria Coaxial Acoustic Architecture. And so apparently this is something that has been common in cars for a while, and this is the first time that it's been put into a set of earbuds. But essentially, if you want to get technical, what that means is these utilize a dual driver setup in each of the earbuds. And by having those dual drivers partially wrapped around one another, it's intended to create an expansive soundstage with rich details while you're listening to your music. And so while we could go into further detail about that whole technology, what's important for our intents and purposes is the fact that these do sound excellent. One thing that I really like about their sound signature is that because of that dual driver setup, they can have one that's totally dedicated to bass. And the bass on these is very strong, but it's not overwhelmingly strong. You can listen comfortably knowing that it's not going to mess up the rest of the listening experience. So it's not gonna muddy up the mids and the highs. You're able to still experience and enjoy every aspect of the music that you're listening to. So if you're somebody who has always enjoyed the sound quality of big over the ear headphones, but let's say you just started going to the gym and you find it to be cumbersome and uncomfortable, you don't like how the sweat builds up on the ear pad, so you're looking for an option that's a little bit more lightweight and robust, then these would definitely be for you. And then finally, the sound becomes even more incredible when you take the time to go into that SoundCore app and set up what's called the Hear ID. So in the app, they do have a number of preset EQ settings, but they also have one called Hear ID where it takes roughly 5 minutes. It puts you through a little bit of a hearing test on your left and your right side. And based on the range of your hearing, it sets up an EQ that is specific to you. So I find that whenever I'm listening to these, while I do appreciate a lot of those preset settings such as bass boost and electronic, I always go back to the settings of the Hear ID. But in addition to that, new just this week, SoundCore released a new firmware and app update that included a fully customizable EQ. So if you want to go ahead and do it yourself because you're familiar with that sort of thing and you already know what it is that you like to hear, then you can just jump into the app, play around with the EQ settings, and then save your own presets that you can use at any time. And so that's pretty much it. The Liberty 2 Pros are a fantastic set of earbuds. They are fantastic at their full price of $150. So having that price knocked down to $119 for the Grammys is an incredible steal. If you've been on the fence and you're trying to figure out which one you prefer, or maybe you bought the Liberty Air 2s but were wondering about how the 2 Pros sound, this would be the perfect time to grab those because there's really no negative to picking it up at this price. That's it for me. Much love as always. Throwing up 2 of them, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.